In the manicured paradise of Willow Creek, where identical mailboxes lined pristine lawns, a tyrant ruled with an iron grip. For 8 years, Margaret Hensley, the HOA president, wielded her authority like a scepter, her rulebook a weapon of fines and intimidation. She was the unchallenged queen of this suburban kingdom, her word law, her gaze enough to silence dissent. But kingdoms fall when pride blinds the ruler, and Margaret's reign was about to crash spectacularly. It began with a screech of metal on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, when she rammed her gleaming SUV into a rusty pickup to make a point. What she didn't know was that the truck's owner, Sheriff Daniel Harper, was no ordinary resident and his body camera was rolling. Daniel Harper was a man accustomed to chaos. As county sheriff, he'd seen blood on asphalt, families shattered, lives ended in an instant. He'd learned to compartmentalize, to build mental walls between the horrors of his job and the man who mowed his lawn. But that day, as he pulled into Willow Creek, the wreckage of a fatal crash on I-95 still burned in his mind. He craved the serenity this neighborhood promised. Instead, he found Margaret Hensley waiting. She stood at the edge of his new property, arms crossed, blonde hair unmoved by the breeze, her face a mask of disapproval. Before he could kill the engine of his battered Chevy Silverado, a truck that had hauled his life through 20 years of service, her voice cut through the air. "That thing," she spat, nodding at the truck's rust-speckled fender, "can't stay here." Daniel stepped out, weary but polite. "I'm Daniel Harper, your new neighbor," he said, extending a hand. She ignored it. "I'm Margaret Hensley, president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association," she declared, as if announcing royalty. "That vehicle violates Bylaw 7, Paragraph C. Community aesthetics." The words were absurd, almost laughable. Hours earlier, Daniel had pressed his hands to a stranger's wound, trying to hold life in while death lingered nearby. Now, he faced a lecture on aesthetics from a woman whose greatest crisis was a rusty fender. He was ready to apologize, to park the truck in his garage, anything for peace. But then he saw Ida flicker in her eyes, a tightening of her jaw. Fear, not of his truck, but of him. A stranger. A threat. In that moment, the absurdity vanished, replaced by the cold curiosity of a seasoned cop. This wasn't about rules. This was a case. Sleep eluded Daniel that night. At his kitchen table, his laptop's glow cast shadows as he dug into Margaret Hensley's life. Her record was clean, but civil court filings told a darker story. 3 lawsuits against former residents, all driven out after costly battles over trivial violations. She wasn't just a bully, she was a predator. Her husband, Thomas Hensley, owned Hensley Builders LLC, the HOA's exclusive vendor for repairs and landscaping. The company's address? A P.O. box. No office, no trucks. A ghost designed to funnel money. The next morning, Daniel went old school, canvassing the neighborhood in jeans and a faded shirt. He approached a young woman tending a vibrant garden that defied the neighborhood's sterile uniformity. "Morning, I'm Daniel from down the street," he said. Her name was Sophie Turner, and for a moment, her eyes warmed. But fear quickly took over, her gaze darting to the street as if Margaret might appear. "I have a deadline," she mumbled, fleeing inside. The pattern repeated with others, like Mr. Callahan, a retired Marine polishing his Mustang. "Margaret keeps things orderly," he said flatly, his eyes hard. "Keeps property values up." The message was clear: don't talk about Margaret. Don't talk to strangers. Fear was as thick as the Virginia humidity. Daniel turned to the Willow Creek Community Forum, a digital arena where Margaret's control was absolute. Her posts were masterful veiled threats disguised as friendly reminders. One shamed a family for a trash can left out, complete with a photo. Another announced a $150 landscaping fee, with Thomas Hensley's comment, "Great work, honey," leading a chorus of forced praise. It wasn't a community, it was a cult. Surveillance became Daniel's next move. His property backed onto woods, giving him a view of an allegedly empty house owned by a board member living abroad. At 2 a.m., a white van with no markings pulled in. 2 men unloaded heavy boxes into the garage, gone in 10 minutes. Daniel noted a partial license plate. He also mapped the HOA's cameras not at the pool or playground, but at choke points, watching residents like prisoners. A call to Ben, a forensic accountant friend, confirmed the worst. The HOA's financials were a masterpiece of deception. $50,000 for front gate flowers, $80,000 for camera maintenance. All payments went to Hensley Builders. This isn't fraud, Ben said. It's money laundering. They're using the HOA to clean dirty cash. The pieces clicked. Margaret's tyranny wasn't just about power. It was a shield for a criminal empire. Across the street, Sophie Turner stared at an email from Margaret. Subject: official notice of violation. A $2,000 fine for her garden's unapproved color palette. It was extortion, a dagger to her dream of running a graphic design business. Tears stung her eyes as she looked at Daniel's truck, a symbol of defiance. He wasn't cowed, but fear paralyzed her. She remembered an HOA meeting where a resident questioned a fee. Margaret's smile had been venomous. Disloyalty has consequences. That resident was gone within months. Sophie backed away from her window, calculating how many gigs it would take to pay the fine. Daniel knew he needed hard evidencia ledger, a witness, a mistake. He decided to apply pressure. At an electronics store, he bought 3 pinhole cameras, hiding them in ivy, a birdhouse, and his mailbox post. Within 24 hours, Margaret noticed. Her morning patrol paused at the birdhouse, her instincts sensing the shift. Her retaliation was vicious, a formal complaint to the sheriff's department, accusing Daniel of covert surveillance and endangering children. She didn't know he was the sheriff. On the forum, she painted him as a reclusive threat, her words dripping with menace. What is he trying to see? 2 nights later, Daniel's cameras caught Thomas Hensley tossing trash onto his lawn. Margaret posted a photo, decrying his disrespect. The hypocrisy was staggering, but it showed her desperation. She was slipping. Sophie's breaking point came with a final email. Pay the $2,000 in 48 hours or face a lien. Rage replaced fear. She wasn't a fighter, but she was done being a victim. Years ago, she designed the HOA's website, retaining admin access. On a hunch, she tried her old credentials. Access denied. Then she tried a default password she'd told them to change. Access granted. Her heart raced as she found a mislabeled folder, Meeting Minutes 2018. It held the truth ledgers, bank statements, invoices with handwritten notes. The entire criminal operation exposed. Hands trembling, Sophie copied the files to a USB drive. At midnight, she ran to Daniel's mailbox, slipping the drive inside. The click of the metal door felt like a gunshot. She didn't know if she'd saved herself or doomed them all. The next morning, Daniel found the USB. The files were a goldmine, a second set of books, proof of embezzlement, and a spreadsheet of coded deliveries. One matched the van he'd seen. Another, coded C1, was set for the next night. The case was live. Daniel mobilized his tactical team, securing warrants in an hour. The plan, a silent perimeter around Willow Creek, with units targeting the empty house and Margaret's residence. At 10 p.m., Daniel left his house, his body camera rolling. As he drove, Margaret's SUV blocked the road. She stepped out, phone raised, screaming, "I have you on camera, harassing me. You're finished." "Margaret, move your vehicle," Daniel said, his voice calm but ironclad. She refused, claiming the road as hers, threatening a citizen's arrest. When he warned her, she saw weakness. With a scream, she jumped into her SUV and slammed into his truck, metal crunching, her headlight shattering. She stumbled out, defiant. "Look what you made me do." Daniel's voice cut through. "Margaret Hensley, you're under arrest for felony assault on a law enforcement officer." Her laughter died as he pointed to his body camera. "I'm Sheriff Daniel Harper. This is all recorded." Her face collapsed as tactical vans and patrol cars swarmed in, lights flashing. Deputies cuffed her and Thomas, while another team hit the target house, seizing a van full of stolen electronics. A week later, the news dubbed it the Willow Creek Racket. Margaret, Thomas, and 2 board members faced federal charges: racketeering, larceny, money laundering. Margaret also faced assault charges. The case was ironclad. 3 months later, Willow Creek breathed free. Sophie's barbecue filled the park with laughter, her business thriving. Mr. Callahan thanked Daniel, who shrugged. "You all got brave. That's what mattered." His truck's dent remained, a scar of the fight for peace. He'd come seeking sanctuary and found it bringing his job home. As the sun set, Daniel felt the irony. In fighting for his neighbors, he'd finally found home.